guys, how we doing? It's great to see you, and welcome to the Introduction to Wellness for Healthiness series. Now, I know I've been planning this for quite some time, and we're going to get stuck into it any second now. I just want to say hello to Annette from our open homestead. Good evening, honey. How are you over there in Oz? And Sika, hello. How you doing, hun? It's good to see you too, mate. So, Wellness for Healthiness series, what's it all about? Okay, so the Wellness for Healthiness series is was started off for my health journey that I need to take to get myself in a better position health-wise. But I also saw that friends of mine were being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes. They were being diagnosed with health issues, with heart issues, and all of those kinds of things. So I wanted to put something together that we could all do together. And now this thing has taken me several months to develop and put together. It's still in the process of a lot of the recipes are still being written. But I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go. So the Wellness for Healthiness series is a plant-based whole foods lifestyle. I don't like the word diet because it has connotations put on it that isn't really good for a health journey. I think looking at it more of a lifestyle and something that you're going to be trying to keep up with or adapt for yourself later on down the track when you've achieved your goals is really important. So yeah, that's why I call it a lifestyle and it's not a diet. Going very well. Thank you, lovely. A bit chilly here tonight. Had a heap of rain. Wonderful. Can you send it this way, please? We could do with some rain. Thanks, Annette. Hey, Rebecca, Suburban Hillbilly. How you doing, honey? It's good to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. So I'm going to just explain a little bit about my health journey and why I started this. Now, probably about 15, 20 years ago, I discovered that I couldn't have certain medications. These medications gave me every kind of reaction you can think of, from anaphylaxis to severe depression to skin breakouts to rashes to blisters to all sorts of things, to nausea, vomiting, all of the nasty things that go whichever end they go. They cause stomach cramping, they did headaches, all of the things. And of course, the doctors are always, the first thing they want to do is put you on more medication to negate the effects of the medication. Unfortunately, with some of those, you can't do that. And one in particular, I was trying to explain to my doctor, I'm getting this rash on my legs after I'd been taking ibuprofen for 7 years on a daily basis, the heaviest dose you can take, several times a day. And I started breaking out in a rash on my legs, on my thighs, my inner thighs. The doctor wouldn't listen to me, actually, and I ended up standing in his surgery and I dropped my jeans in front of him and said, will you just look at it? Because sometimes you have to do these things, right? And he turned around and he looked at me because he hadn't even looked at me at this point. He's sort of poo-pooing it and saying that I'm being all, And then he looked at it and he went, I need you to be very calm in this moment. And he'd just seen it. I need you to get yourself together, put your trousers back on. Because my jeans are sitting around my ankles at this point. And I need you to sit down. I need to call an ambulance. And I said, what? He said, you're having a severe ibuprofen reaction. You're going to be placed in hospital. You could be there for several weeks. You're 3 days from death. I went, pardon? And that's where it really kind of started to kick in with me, that a lot of these medications that we're given, the side effects can be incredibly bad. I ended up in hospital for 3 weeks, and I can never touch ibuprofen, Nurofen, any of those things ever, ever, ever again. Not allowed, ever again. I get migraines from paracetamol. I also get stomach issues with paracetamol. I can't take anything with codeine in it because I get heart palpitations and all sorts of lung issues and stomach issues. I can't take oral morphine, the liquid morphine, but I can have it in injection form. I can have it in patch form. But because I can't take it in liquid form, they ignore that fact, because what happens is that because of the years of abuse from medications, I developed IBS, and the IBS is what triggers when I have morphine in liquid form, and it literally comes straight back again. So they ignore that, and it's very difficult to get help when I need it. So let's just say that. Hi, Tony. How you doing? Hi, everyone. Sorry, Blue woke up with, let's just say I woke up with stomach issues, but I'm here in this form. No worries, mate. It's all good. It's all good. So I had to stop taking all the medications that they wanted to give me to help with issues, pain issues. And from 2013, that became a major issue when I ended up with my spine collapsing after a major accident, and being in severe pain, chronic pain all the time. Every medication they gave me that wasn't technically a painkiller, it was some kind of nerve blocker or something like that, made the situation worse. And so not only that, but over the years has damaged my hormone levels and all sorts of other things that, you know, we need to look at. But it has got to a point now where, and the other thing with it, the other thing that I discovered, that was when I had certain foods, I was having some of these medical reactions, and I didn't understand why. And being a qualified dietitian and nutritionist, I wanted to find out exactly what was going on, because I shouldn't have been having these reactions. If I dealt with certain types of raw chicken, if it was cheap raw chicken that I bought from the frozen aisles, I tended to break out in rashes all up my arms, and it didn't sit well in my stomach. If I eat bacon, it's a crapshoot whether I get good, if I can eat it, or if I end up curled up on the couch in tears for 8 hours. That kind of stuff was going on, and I couldn't understand why. And then I found out that a lot of medications that they give humans, they give the animals. So unless you are bringing up your own animals, you know what's going into them, what they're being fed, and they're pretty much on a grass and hay diet, the chances are that those animals are being fed at some point, whether it's in the feed or from the vets, etc. Whether those animals have had those medications, and the way that labeling laws work, we will never know, because it's not really possible to find out, let's be honest, especially with industrial farming the way that it is. Now, the difference between medication in our foods and things like bacteria and viruses and stuff like that, Bacteria, viruses, disease, all of that kind of stuff can be either cut out or cooked out. Medications can't. So they may have had the medication 6 months ago, but it'll still be somewhere in their food. But a lot of these medications, especially painkillers, things like diazepam and stuff, are actually fed to a lot of the animals here in this country for definite before they go to the abattoirs. Now, so that has not had time to go through their system. It has not had time to work its way out. It is fully in there, completely in there. And as I said, cannot be cooked out. So I was having reactions to the meat that I was eating. So not only was I having issues with the meat that I was eating, but I was coming up with issues when I was having dairy. Now, whether that was milk or cheese or yogurt or whatever, cream, that I was still having these reactions. And the same with eggs. I was still having the reactions with eggs. And I couldn't understand what was going on. But it was all part of the same situation where I was having reactions to the medications that had been given to the birds or the animals. And then it started with fish because I was buying farmed fish rather than sea fish. And so when I was buying farmed fish, a lot of these medications get put in their feed to make sure they're kept healthy. Yeah. So I was on a spiral at that point, and I didn't really know what to do. So I had to do some research, and that research led me to a couple of little films, actually, which I will mention. They will go in the description below. I haven't put them there yet, but I will be putting them in the description below. But I just want to check on chat just for a second. Let's see. And he says, I can't take ibuprofen as it flares up my stomach ulcer. Certain foods can affect my gut. Exactly. So you need to stay away from things that are highly acidic. I get it. I completely get it. Crapshoot or crapshoot? Just kidding. You're fine, honey. One or the other. There's one or the other. Let's be honest. Suburban Hillbilly also says, yes, chicken is a big one. Many women have difficulty fighting off UTIs. The antibiotics that give the chickens are in the same family as the ones used to treat women with UTIs. Therefore, they are resistant. Yes. But the other issue with putting antibiotics in the meat and such is that it actually kills our good bacteria in our stomachs as well. So without even knowing it, we should be having acidophilus and bifidus either in tablet form or in some kind of fermentation form, whether that be a plant-based yogurt or fermented foods for gut health, without even realizing it, because we're being fed antibiotics through meat products, etc. It's bad. It's not great. I'm aware that I have a lot of friends. I do have friends who are farmers, who are dairy farmers, who are beef farmers, who are pig farmers, who are chicken farmers, who are egg farmers, and I am in no way, shape or form negating what they do for a living. Okay. I know that these people look after their animals in the best way they can, and the best way that they are allowed to do so. And I am not in any way trying to belittle their industry and what they're doing, because meat for a lot of people is something that is purely fine for them to have. And that's fine. That's not a problem. And dairy, again, I mean, June. It's June, right? It's June. It's dairy month. Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to belittle the dairy industry in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that my body in particular has an aversion to these things, and I can't have them. So therefore, when I put together a health journey for myself, I need to remove those things from my way of eating. Okay. So be aware of that. I'm not trying to do an Oprah and say all burgers are bad. Okay. Please don't ever think I'm saying that. Okay. Suburban Hillbilly says, I take a probiotic every day. I'm going to start fermenting as soon as I can carve out some more time. Yeah, I get that. Also, if I make homemade bread, I have no issues. If I eat store-bought bread, my stomach sometimes revolts. Now, this is another thing. Also on this journey, on my health journey, I will not be having wheat flour-based products. If there is any wheat flour in the products that I make, it will be einkorn wheat, which is the closest thing. That, kamut, and spelt are the three closest things to the old kind of wheat that we used to eat when we were kids. The majority of the wheat that we eat these days is a GMO form of wheat that was produced because I don't know how many of you in chat will be able to remember the very tall wheat fields that we had as children. Okay, these wheat fields used to grow to about our height as 5 and 6 and 7 year olds. Okay, they were that high. They would be up to my shoulder about now. Okay, but wheat fields now are pretty much knee high. Now, this type of wheat was produced in the 1950s. Okay, but it became an everyday form of wheat in the 1970s, late 70s. The guy who produced it got himself a what's it called? A Nobel Prize for it. But what they didn't have was time to discover what it actually did to the human body and what it actually contained. Now, in that particular wheat, in the wheat that we see every day, because it was made to have a thicker stalk, because farmers were complaining they were losing probably 10-20% of their crops due to wind and the stalks breaking, they made a smaller, thicker stalk with a lot more wheat on it. Okay. Now, unfortunately, what came along with that was the gluten changed as well. It developed into a very complex form of gluten that humans find very difficult to digest, which is why all of a sudden in the late 80s, 90s and noughties, 2000s, we find so many people all of a sudden having a gluten intolerance or a wheat intolerance. We're starting to see that now because this wheat is really bad for the human body. Okay, so we find it very hard to digest. That kind of complex gluten is really, really bad for the body, and it causes all sorts of hormonal issues, sugar issues, because it spikes sugar levels like you wouldn't believe, because we can't digest the gluten, it actually turns into glucose, which then spikes our sugar levels, which we don't want. So, you know, these are all things that we have to now take into consideration when we're looking at trying to get healthy. A lot of people with autoimmune diseases are having to turn to a plant-based whole food diet. Some of them are able to afford, lucky them, to be on a paleo or carnivore diet rather than paleo, because they can afford to have grass-fed, grass-raised animals, you know, that aren't fed any kind of grain or anything. So, you know, people who can afford that, that's really good. But the cheaper option, again, is plant-based whole foods, because for the money that you would spend on the meat, you can probably get 2 or 3 weeks worth of fruit and veg. So this is kind of where we're at the moment. So what I've done is I have developed a 5-weekly meal plan that's rotational, and I may do another one to cover more winter style foods, Obviously, where I live up in the northern hemisphere, it's summer at the moment. So these things are a little bit more summer-based. But I think closer to the end of the year, I'll probably maybe work out some kind of winter-based thing with a little bit more cooked foods and things that are a little bit more. But what I'll do is I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay. So, window. No. Is that going to come up as an option? Yes, it is. Okay. So let me just get back here. All right. So here we go. This is this is week 3 on the meal plan. Okay. So first off, we've got Monday here. So the first 3 are breakfast, okay? Because this plan works on the premise that you breakfast like a king, you lunch like a queen, and you end your day like a pauper, okay? So your biggest meal of the day always has to be breakfast because you have the most time to work it all off, okay? So we have power drink for the start of the day. So you've got your drink. So there is I will show you the thing on that afterwards. You've got your drink. So on, say, Monday, we've got a spirulina cocktail. And then we've got this little section here called the moment on the lips. Now, the moment on the lips is your little bit of a sweet treat. Now, I know it sounds a little bit different and a bit weird, but most people in their mornings will have a cereal-based sweet thing in their breakfast. Okay? So what we're looking at doing with this meal plan is that you have that alternative to your boxed cereals. So you have things like Bircher muesli or coconut chai pudding, chocolate nut butter overnight oats or quinoa pathways, things like that. Something that's a bit of a sweet treat that's going to get, it's going to give you that little sweet fix, okay? Which we all want in our day, let's be honest. Now, the thing is with that, you don't have to have it at that point, but I will get to that in a bit. And then we've got the main event, which is a cooked part of the breakfast, okay? So you've got a main part of your breakfast. So on that Monday, we've got spinach and mushroom plant-based frittata. The next day, you've got a plant-based shakshuka, which is a tomato. Traditionally, it's tomatoes and eggs, but in this one, it's obviously not eggs, okay? So, but there are other things. There is a different form of protein in there, which will include things like chickpeas or legumes and probably some tofu or tempeh, something along those lines. Now, for your mid-morning snack, because everybody gets to the point where they're like flagging, you can have either your moment on the lips thing from breakfast, or you can have something like a jackfruit buffalo dip. And in that section, you will be able to have your choice of crackers or flatbread or veggie sticks or whatever you want to go with it. Okay, so you've got plenty of options, all right? They're not any major sort of big deal. Then you've got lunch, okay, or dinner, depending on what country you live in and what you want to call it. It's the main meal of the day, okay? So lunch on the Monday is going to be crunch wraps. On this particular week, because I've tried to theme the week so that there are different types of foods available, okay? And this particular week is a little bit more, more US-based foods. okay, than European or Asian or Mediterranean. So you've got a lot more US type foods, or what we would consider to be US, like Tex-Mex type things, or Mexican or South American and North American style foods. So you've got crunch wraps, which if any of you have been to Taco Bell, you'll know what that is. It's a flatbread with some really yummy ingredients that kind of resemble something that's supposed to go in a taco, with a smaller taco on top. Then you fold the bigger taco, well, the bigger tortilla over the top, and then you heat it up so that it becomes like almost like a toasty in a pan. And it gets all crispy and crunchy and stuff, which is really, really yummy. And to go with that, you've got some sweet potato coleslaw. But you can also have other things to go with it as well, as long as it's along the lines of what we're doing. So then you've got your mid-afternoon snack. Also, these are also things that you're able to take to work with you if you need to do that. They're not things that you can't do that with. So it is possible to do that, and pack them up and take them with you. Then the afternoon snack, you've got Bliss Bombs or fruit salad. The fruit salads are basically whatever you've got in the cupboard, if or what you like as far as fruit's concerned. But you want to be looking at definitely having berries of some description in there, trying to stay away from heavily sugared fruits that don't have a lot of fiber in them. So obviously they're going to have their own recipe booklet for the snacks and things. And then in the evening, you've got, because like I said, you have to end the day very lightly. Now, there is a very serious reason for this. Now, if you have issues with things like diabetes, etc., you don't want to be having anything major at the end of your day, because that's when your sugar can spike. Number one, your body is too busy trying to digest. You're going to get sugar spike. You don't want to have a sugar spike, so you want to have something light, easy for your body to digest. So it's not putting a lot of effort into digestion. It's just trying to settle itself down so that you can sleep. Because if your body is busy digesting and you get yourself a sugar spike, the next thing that's going to happen is you're not going to get any sleep, because your body will be like, oh, I'm awake now, we got to go and do this. Okay? Not great. Not great at all. Let's be honest. So for here, we've got an Italian chickpea soup. Now, it's entirely up to you if you want to put something with that. But personally, I think myself, I would just have either a bowl of it, or I've got a soup mug, so I'd probably have a soup mug of it. And as you can see in the plan, I've put only 2 soups for the whole day. Now, the only reason I've done that, now the recipe booklet is going to be slightly different. There's going to be about 20, 30 different soups that you can make. And if you're doing this for the whole family, that's fine. Me on my own, it's just me. So I make a batch of soup. It's going to last me all week. Okay? And this is the other thing that I want to discuss with you guys. Okay? So, for example, most of, and I will come to this actually, so we'll just stop sharing that one for a second. Hide that. Hi, back again. And I'm going to share something else. Okay. Now, this is the PDF of the breakfast drinks. Okay. Now, if you go back up here, whoops, you've got a lot of different drinks. There are 20 drinks in all that you can choose from. And in the meal plan, I've only written 7, because you can choose the ones that are better for you. But what I do suggest you do is that you alternate between having a smoothie on one day that is creamy based or plant-based, milk based, and a juice based one the next day. Okay, both have a lot of protein in them, both are really good for you, both are going to get you set up for the day, nothing wrong with that, but it just makes life a little bit more interesting. However, for someone like myself, these recipes, they all make 4. Okay, now if you're making 4 of something for 4 people, that I would probably do one of 2 things with. One, I would either use that as my main drink all day long and have it at different intervals of the day. The other option is that I can put some aside for the next day or the next 4 days. So I don't have to make another breakfast drink for the rest of I've just made my breakfast drink for the whole 4 days. Okay. And that's the same with all of them. So, you know, a basic serve is about 250 ml, which is just under, it's a basic normal glass. Okay. So a normal tumbler glass of drink. It's not like my water glass. This is a pint. A normal glass is about half of that. So again, this would do me probably a good few days. Okay. If you're doing it that way, you can actually, you can still alternate them. You can, if you wanted to, you can freeze these and just bring it out the night before so it's there for you for the next day if you've got that kind of space. I don't. Just saying. I really, really don't. Okay. So they're very, very simple. I've written them so that they are really easy to follow. I don't think that method is really difficult for anybody. Same with these. I've tried to keep everything as simple as possible. Okay. If there are, I do notice that I have put milliliters in here where I haven't actually put the cup measurement. Please understand, maca is a root. Okay. I will absolutely tell you what that is right now. Okay. Okay, hang on. Okay, so maca is derived from the root of a cruciferous vegetable, cruciferous, which is like your green leafy veg. Okay. It's native to Peru and is related to broccoli, cauliflower, and kale. Okay. The root, which is the edible part of the vegetable, looks similar to a cross between a parsnip and a radish, but you purchase it dried and in powder form. Okay. So what it actually does for you, it gives you a lot of, you know, energy. It improves your mood. It helps manage menopause in women and blood pressure in men and women. You know, it's a very awesome kind of thing. And, you know, if you're not feeling quite as, I'm going to try and find a way that I can say this without sounding really awful here. Right. Okay. So some of us may have an issue with certain libido type drives. Well, maca root can help with that and has been used for that for many centuries. Okay, I'm just saying it can, you know, gives you a bit of a frisky kick, shall we say, if that's what you want. So yeah, so we're just going to pop over to chat again because I know I've been talking a bit and I'm a little bit behind. And it says, I haven't been as strict as I should be with my eating. Having type 2 diabetes, I really need to get my eating under control. Totally. And it's cool. Tony says, I think this plan is awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. A lot of work has gone into this. Okay. So the other thing with the meal plan, and I'm going to go back to the meal plan now, is this. So if you have a look, we've got all sorts of different things. When it comes to the weekends are when we tend to have a little bit more time on our hands, and we want to treat ourselves because it's the weekend. Let's be honest. All right. We want to do the nice things for ourselves. We want to have all the nice things, right? So I've got things like your chocolate hazelnut smoothie on there, because who doesn't want, a little bit of a chalky pick-me-up on a Saturday morning? Who doesn't? Let's be fair, right? So then we've got a muffin flavored pudding, blueberry cinnamon muffin chia pudding. For breakfast, we've got an omelette, a chickpea omelette. Now, it's not an omelette that is made with eggs. It is an omelette that is made with chickpea flour. Okay. But what I've done is on Saturdays, I've made it like a takeaway night. Now, what we're going to be doing with that is I'm going to be showing you different ways to make all our favorite takeaways, but healthy at home, so you don't feel like you're missing out on something, okay? Because Saturday night for us is normally takeaway night. So that's why I've done that. Now, the other thing is you can swap these days around if that's what you want to do, okay? So, for example, on this one, you've got fake away fish and chips with fennel onion rings, okay? Now, obviously it is similar to a crepe. It is similar to a crepe, hun. Yeah, it is. The chickpea omelette. The meal plan is not going to be on the Facebook group page, okay? And that's another thing that I'm about to get to. However, Annette, I have 5 people that I have in mind to that I need to proofread these. Tony from Kettle Kitchen is one of them. I have a couple of others. And I was actually going to have a chat to you later on about if you would like to be one of my proofreaders for this. The menu plans and the recipe books will be available for Patreons, okay? And the link for that is down below. It's also going to be available on my Etsy shop as well. So that's going to be available there. All the proceeds that go towards that go towards buying plants, pots, compost, etc., for growing food seedlings for people, for the local food banks here locally where I live. So that's what happens with the money from it. At the moment, it doesn't go to line my pocket, it goes to help feed other people, okay, and make them a little bit more food, give them a bit more food security. Vegetarian chips. Yes, vegetarian chips. Cheek. Okay, so, but then you see like on Sunday as well. But like I said, I will go into that a little bit further later on. Okay, we need to pop this back up. Now, Sunday. Sunday is a day, it's always been a foodie day in our house. So we've always started off with like a full cooked breakfast, had a roast dinner or something bigger in the day, all that kind of thing. So what I've done is for the Sunday, I've done a full English plant-based breakfast. So those recipes will be available in the booklet. And then for later on in the day, I've done a country pie with seasonal roast vegetables. Okay, and there will be gravy recipes, etc., for things like that. So yeah, that's all those kinds of things. So you've got your equivalency, and On week 2 for there, we've got hang on, let's have a look. You got vegetable steaks and roast vegetables, things like that. There's stuffed breakfast sweet potatoes. Then you've got stuffed squashes. It's so you've still got your roast dinner, but it's slightly different. Okay, so yeah, so that's basically how it works, but everything's slightly different than it would be if you're doing it, you know. Anywho, so okay, so I'm just going to take a drink because it's been 41 minutes and I've done nothing but non-stop talk, so it's been a lot of info, and I'm aware it's a lot of info, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask questions while I'm talking about it. Okay, now normally on a Friday there will be a live where I do a live cooking demonstration where I will be making an alternative to a shop bought product that we can make at home very cheaply, very simply, but that you will be using on this process, okay, as well as answering any questions and stuff like that. Okay, the Monday, so Mondays, there will be a video out of what I have done during that week. And for the first 5 weeks, it will be breakfasts. Okay. For the second 5 weeks, I will be doing dinners, so the lunches. And for the next 5 weeks after that, I will be showing you the evening meals and snacks after that, anything like that. And we will just have to go from there. Okay. But it'll also be so it'll be my journal of how I'm doing it. Once a month, there will be a weigh-in video because I am not going to be doing that. Is not, and I will get to this a bit later. My weight is not my biggest issue. Okay. I want to get healthy for other reasons. The weight is just something that I can measure as a tool. Okay. But it's not my focus. Now, this is what I'm going to get into next. So if there's any questions about the meal plan, can you please ask them? And while I have my drink. Because we'll be getting into the top 5 things that will help you succeed at this. All right. In the next half of this. So this is... Unfortunately, following the menu list, I would have to omit much of it. Spices make me ill. I can barely handle black pepper. Actually, all you have to do is not put it in. Okay. So some people do have issues with spices and stuff. Tanny, for example, he has a lot of issues with spices and herbs and such. So because he's just not used to them, it's not the way he was brought up. And his palate has not had time to develop for those. That's not a problem. So what I do when I'm cooking for Tanny is I don't put them in. I'll put them in for mine, but I don't put them in for his. And that's the difference. You can do all of the things and have the basic ingredients without having the spices if that's what you want to do. So that's what I would say to anyone who has an issue with any of the spices, whether they are hot spices or any other things that they may find that they have some kind of aversion to. Just don't put it in. Just don't do that. Not a problem. Do you know what I mean? It is very low carb, and can is able to be adjusted for low carb because it is low carb. but at the, so that's the thing. So there isn't any wheat flour that is involved in any of the recipes. I have adapted the recipes so that they have things like barley, kamut, spelt, einkorn flour, those kinds of whole grain flours, even quinoa flour, which is pure protein, so it's a protein-based flour. Or you could use nut flours if you wanted to. If you wanted to use ground almonds instead of, something, if you were doing something sweet, that kind of thing. But there is no flour involved. There is also very little rice involved. But where there is rice involved, because there are a few recipes where there is rice involved, I make it for that week so that you're not making it over and over and over again, so that it's used a couple of times during the week. So you make enough for the week, but it's not rice per se. It's a mixed grain mix. So it's not just rice or white rice as we know it. There's brown rice in there. There's wild rice in there. There's red rice in there. There's some lentils in there. There's all sorts of things. So you may have some of the complex, of the simple starches from white rice if you're using that, but you don't have to use that. You can have the brown versions, which means that you have the slow release. So it's a more complex carbohydrate rather than a simple one, which is what you're looking for. So yeah, that's yeah, pretty much where we're at with it. So the other thing that you will find with this meal plan and in the recipes is there is no sugar. There's no sugar per se. And the only sugar type sweeteners that I have suggested for usage are raw honey, as locally sourced as you can get it, okay, and maple syrup, okay. They're the only two. I would suggest that you get whatever is nearest to you, because it's cheaper that way. It's better for you that way. Raw honey that comes from within 2 miles of where you live or 5 kilometers from where you live is actually going to help you as far as allergies are concerned too. So if you have issues with, say, hay fever, the bees are collecting pollen from around your local area. So those are the plants that you're having issues with. If that's an issue for you, the bees actually turn that pollen into an antihistamine naturally. And so taking a small teaspoon of raw honey each morning will actually help with hay fever as well, because it's basically an antihistamine at that point as well. So, as much as, you don't want to be having a lot of sweeteners, and you want to be cutting your sugar right down into all its natural forms. This is also one of the reasons that, this is plant-based whole foods. This is not vegan. There is no political bent here at all. None. So, and there is, so we use honey because it is the purest sweetener that you can get. There's no process to it. The bees collect the pollen, the bees make the honey, the beekeeper collects the honey, gets put in a jar, that's yours, but it has to be raw honey. Any other honey has gone through some kind of processing, and a lot of the good components of that are cooked out, which is kind of a waste of point. Yes, regurgitated bee spit is healthy and delicious. Yes, right there. Thank you, Rebecca. Wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to get into the top 5 ways to succeed on your health journey. Okay, so number one is your mindset and changing the narrative. Okay? Now, your brains are naturally wired to react and act if there is a fear of losing something. Okay? A fear of losing an item that you treat like it's precious, like your grandmother's vase or something like that, or your great grandmother's vase. If you saw a 3-year-old going near that, you would lose your mind. Okay? You'd lose your mind. Let's be honest. You know, it's precious. It goes up high. You look after it. You keep it away with the kids who've got their footballs inside because, you know, they're kids and they do that stuff, you know, because it happens. But if it broke, you would lose your ever-loving mind. Let's be honest. Even if it was an accident, which it probably would be, you know, your brain reacts to the loss. Okay? Well, the same thing happens when our brain thinks that we're not going to allow it to eat or drink something that it wants. It will make us binge eat all of the things we don't want to eat and will force a craving on us to make sure we do it. In severe cases, for example, taking processed sugar or caffeine out of our daily routine, our brains and bodies will react as if we have stopped taking drugs. And I mean big, class A, major junkie drugs. Okay? So, you know, that you're going to get withdrawal. All right? That means you're going to get headaches. You're going to get lethargic. You're going to get joint pain. You're going to get irritable, and you're going to be less likely to be able to control your moods. There's going to be fatigue, brain fog, cravings, nausea, interrupted sleep patterns, and those symptoms can go on for a few days or up to 6 weeks. Now that's scary, but it will depend on your general daily income intake of sugar or caffeine, and what you've actually been what you're letting go of. Okay, so you know it is said that giving up sugar or caffeine is as bad as giving up class A drugs. That is what the withdrawal can be like. Okay, so be aware of that. All right. So you want to negate this from happening. We need to really show our brains that it isn't going to lose out. All right. Will this mean we're not going to have these physical symptoms? No, it doesn't mean that at all, because your body needs to go through that withdrawal because it's going through it. Okay. But it does mean you can make life easier for yourself moving forward. The way we do this is by focusing on the positives and not the negatives. Okay? Instead of saying to ourselves, I'm giving up sugar and coffee, we say to ourselves, I'm going to make myself some infused water drinks, you know, and make some herbal hot tea drinks instead. Okay? Is that enough, though? No, not really. You have to really think about and plan what your alternatives are going to be. You have to get your brain on board with this plan. So you need to choose things that you already enjoy and your brain enjoys. So if you like to have a slice of lemon in your water, put the lemon in your water. Get some more lemons in. Do the lemons. But you can also put lime and orange slices as well. One of the things that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks is making orange, lemon, and lime water, and just putting half of a fruit in my big jug, because I have a 2-liter jug that sits on my desk all the time. Okay, so you know, but plan to experiment on these as well, using other fruits or fresh herbs like mint and cucumber, which is a really, really nice one. Lovely and refreshing, especially in summer. Or strawberry, hibiscus, and borage. Borage is really easy to grow. Once you've got it in your garden, you're never going to get rid of it. I'm just saying. It's one of those things. But so, you know, having a few borage flowers in there, you're going to get a little bit of a minty hit from the borage. And you're going to get the strawberry and the hibiscus. And you're only going to use a couple of strawberries and a couple of hibiscus flowers. Rosella hibiscus. I'm not talking about the fancy Hawaiian version of hibiscus. I'm talking about the little rosellas. Okay. Right. The same with sugar. Make it a game. Find great alternatives that you can easily make to your chocolates and sweets, like having bliss bombs or raw energy bars, fresh fruit and veggie sticks with savory dips. Use raw honey or maple syrup in small amounts rather than sugar. Basically plan it all and make it almost a game or a ceremony and fun and putting all the effort in so your brain sees that this is more important and that the smells and the feelings of making the alternatives are even more important than your general go-to foods. Okay? So if you're just going and grabbing a Snickers, for example, right? Okay, if you just go and grab a Snickers, there's not a lot of ceremony in it. You're just opening up the wrapper and what have you. There's not a lot of that. But, you know, if you put a little bit of effort into what you're making, your brain automatically goes, actually, this is really good. This is really good. And this is a lot more like yum than that. So, and I've just made more than that. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Let's just pop into chat very quickly because I've realized that I'm way behind. I'm sorry. Oh, Annie, that's so sweet of you, darling. I've learned more in the last 50 minutes than I did from 3 20-minute sessions with a nutritionist when I was first diagnosed. You're welcome, darling. Always. Don't forget, it is in the interest of the nutritionist to keep you coming back and pay. Well, there is that. Annie, seriously, you're not stalking me, darling. My inbox is always open to you anytime at all. Anytime at all. If you want to talk about stuff, ask me questions, please do. Suburban Hillbilly, how do you feel about portion control when transitioning to a new diet? Okay, so some portion control is really important, but when it comes down to eating a plant-based diet, you will find that it doesn't matter how much you eat. And the thing is that calories are actually a fallacy. Obviously, you don't want to be going through having 10,000 calories a day because not only have you eaten so much food that you should be actually quite sick, but, you know, it's very difficult to put a lot of calories out there. Okay, now calories only register the amount of energy it takes to burn something. Okay, so when they say how many calories something has, it's put in an incinerator, basically, so that they can measure how long it takes to burn that thing at that temperature, and then they test the carbon, and apparently that gives you the calories, right? So there's a lot of weird sciencey stuff that goes into it, but what I will say is this: it's total bollocks. It's total bollocks, right? If you're eating a plant-based diet, you can sit there and you can chow down on as much raw, whole grain, whole foods, plant-based whole foods as you want, and the chances are that you may only get to less than 1,000 calories a day, unless you're eating a whole heap of other things that are going to bounce their calories up. But you're going to be full. And you'll actually be fuller than you would be if you ate twice the amount of calories in something like dairy and meat and stuff like that. It is, because it's going to fill you up more and for longer. So, yeah. But, yeah, there is some portion controlling in this. Not a lot, though, okay? Because, honestly, people can make up their own minds how much they want to eat or don't eat. But if you're using plant-based whole foods, like I said, you're not going to get a lot of issue with eating too many calories. Seeker. Oh, Seeker, that's very sweet of you. Blue is a treasure. That does not mean I think she should be buried. Cheeky sod. Hey, Rochelle, Brampton Gardeners here. Good to see you, darling. I put citrus slices in all my water all the time. Nice. I'm growing roselle or Jamaican sorrel. Brilliant. Awesome. Cleaning out my closet, so listening and groaning. Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? I don't know. Seeker says, you're only stalking her with messages. I'm filling up her house with plastic stuff. This is true. French fries. Yes, French fries. But, I'm not a big potato girl. I'm not going to lie. I do know a lot of overweight people who are vegetarian. Okay, so vegetarian is very different to groaning equals complaining. Okay, no worries. There are a lot of overweight vegetarian people, and there are two reasons for that. Number one, vegetarian people do include dairy and eggs in their diet. They also tend to buy a lot of pre-processed foods. But what we're looking at is having a plant-based whole food diet. So you're actually limiting a lot of those things and not looking at purchasing a lot of pre-made stuff from the supermarkets, okay? So it makes a lot of difference, okay? So that's where we're at with that. Now, okay. So basically, you want to plan it all and make it almost a game and fun, putting all the effort in so that your brain sees that this is more important and more fun, and smells, and the feelings that it makes you feel of the accomplishment of making it is even more important than your general go-to foods. Having a good stock of these is important as well. Not so that you can binge on them, because you won't want to anyway. But as moderation is huge importance with these, okay, because they are very protein heavy, a lot of them. But so that you can see them in glass jars. So your brain thinks, oh, yeah, I can grab one of them when I want. Taking away the opportunity for it to think it's missing out on something because you've already got the snacks sitting there, right? Same process can be used for other things you are choosing to swap over. Instead of saying, I'm not eating bread anymore, say, I'm choosing to eat buckwheat, barley, or rye bread now. Instead of saying, I'm not having milk now, say, I'm going to have whatever your favorite plant-based milk is, okay? Instead of saying, I'm not eating meat anymore, say, I'm going to be having a lot more plant protein, so lots of mushrooms, legumes, whole grains, all of that kind of stuff. Really, really good for your things. So you're not missing out, okay? Because the reality is, if you, we're going to get into the oils and stuff later on. But, yeah, at the moment, this is different. So we've also become used to associating certain words with certain foods. And one that has become far too popular over the last few years is the changing of the word meat to protein. Now, this is a marketing strategy to force people into thinking that protein only comes from animals, birds, and fish, okay? But people don't want to think of them as coming from animals, birds, and fish, so they've started calling meat protein, when really it isn't actually the truth. The same can be said for calcium, which we associate that with dairy milk and dairy milk products, when in reality it's much easier for our bodies to digest calcium-based, vegetable-based calcium, as it brings it up into the plant from the ground, and enough calcium for your daily needs can be found in vegetables like green leafy vegetables, things like chard, kale, beet leaves, mustard greens, radish tops, and broccoli and other brassicas. You get more than enough of your daily calcium needs with like 2 or 3 cups of those kinds of veg. The second part of this is making your brain concentrate on the good. Understanding that your brain thinks it is losing out is half the battle. So forcing it to concentrate on the good works in many ways. Okay, so for example, you say to yourself, I'm fat and want to lose weight, so I'm going on a diet. Your brain goes into a panic survival mode. Okay, but if you say to yourself and do it on a daily basis or several times a day, I'm regaining my health and wellness so that I can gain strength and vitality so I can cope better with life. Or I'm replacing processed foods with whole foods so I can reverse medical issues and live a stronger and healthier life. So it's changing the narrative on the inside so that your mindset changes, so that you don't need to worry. Your brain, it's mind games, okay, with yourself. It is mind games with yourself. You have to take it into consideration because you need to retrain your brain into knowing that it's not going to lose out. It's going to gain so much more. And that's what your brain needs to focus on. So sure, weight loss comes into becoming healthier and stronger, but it's only one way to measure how far you're coming along with your journey. There are many other ways to measure your health journey. Your doctor may drop some of your medications so you no longer need them. Wow. That's got to be one of the best ones, surely. If you're not having to pay out for stupid amounts of prescriptions, because you don't need them anymore, that's got to be one of the biggest incentives there is out there, apart from the fact that you don't have to sit there and take half an hour to take all your daily medications 3 or 4 times a day. You become more able to move around and find a little bit of extra pep in your step, So you're moving around better. You're doing things a little bit better, You might find it easier as you become stronger to breathe and sleep. You may even find you're able to reverse some breathing conditions. Now, not all people with sleep apnea, it's weight-based. It's not. A lot of people are actually born with it. It's normal, and it is something that they have issues with. Some of them are people that need to have their tonsils removed to have that kind of airway opened up for them, but that's just the way it is, But if it's something that's to do with your size and size related, then it may be that you may not need a CPAP machine anymore. And that's got to be a bonus, right? You may also find that you become more agile and able to grab things off the floor that you haven't been able to do for years. You might be able to scratch that part of your back that you have to keep grabbing a ruler for, or a remote control, or whatever's handy just to be able to reach. That, 5, 10, 15 years ago, you could actually scratch yourself. You might be able to do that again. That's got to be a bonus, right? You might be able to stand while doing a task for longer. That's a huge one, You may find that you're able to increase your exercise time. So a major part of this as well is actually doing some movement so that you're actually helping your joints and your body get stronger as well. So if you can you start off with a minute a day or minute several times a day, then, if you can do a minute and a half after 2 or 3 weeks of that, that's got to be a bonus, right? So weight and mass size are only 2 ways out of countless others. Finding your focus and what your focus is, the most important thing you can do to help you on this journey. Focusing on the good that will come and imagining how you will feel when this happens and allowing yourself to feel that now is really a huge way forward to success. Okay. So I'm just going to take a moment because we're going to get on to the second bit, but I'm going to catch up with chat. Also look at herbivores. They mostly have bigger bellies because plants take more digesting. Yes, they have to be bigger animals. This is true. But in humans, it doesn't quite work that way because, it just doesn't. I mean, naturally, we're omnivores, but we have so changed the way that we do things that, and the way that we raise our animals and stuff like that. We're no longer nomadic. For the most part, we don't follow the seasons and follow the way around the country, so we don't do that anymore. So, bad oils are dangerous too, and that's something that we're going to look at on Friday. Unless you move around at the speed of a startled springbok. True. Salad dressing is scary when you read the label. You're right, Rochelle, it is. Yes, we're retraining our brain. Yeah, Tony, it is a ton of information, but I'm really hoping that you guys are getting something out of it. Like I said, this is the introduction to the whole series. It's never going to be as long as this again, okay? But I wanted everyone to get as much information as they could from this. Ton of information, but very useful and informative on many different levels. It is great. Thank you. Oh, good grief, Seeker. I tried dressing salad, but it became too much effort making the little clothes. Good grief. Speaking of, I'm folding fabric. Rochelle, awesome. Yeah, humans cook most of the plants' head start on digestion, partly. Yeah, you can replay the video anytime you like. And, stop and start it and go back and get all of those bits that you want whenever. Right. So, number 2, the top 5 ways to make sure that you are successful, right? Find your tribe. Find your tribe. Having an amazing support network is incredibly important to this journey and to your ongoing and permanent success. This isn't always found at home, unfortunately, but support is out there. It is incredibly easy to fall back into bad habits if those around you are not joining you on this journey, or you find them less than helpful, making smart-ass or derogatory comments masked as humor. It's just a joke, okay? Not helpful. Guilt can set in if it means making 2 meals all the time due to financial constraints, and old habits tend to creep back in. Finding your tribe or a support network is the best way to fight this. Having a friend or partner that is willing to join you on this journey is the best way possible to ensure success. But if this isn't possible, then finding a support group really is the best way forward. You need a cheer squad. Even if it's a cheer squad of 1. Someone you can share the ups and downs with, or a call or message when your day is going badly, or even if it's going well, really well. Even AA and other recovery groups have a buddy system, so that if you're feeling like you are going to fall off the wagon, they can give you that bit of support not to do that in a non-judgmental, non-traumatizing, non-guilt-filled way. Someone who will stop you from beating yourself up because you had a piece of cake while you were out, or that you made the easy choice while eating out with friends and family to avoid the questions and comments. For this reason, I have set up a private group on Facebook that is available to anyone to join who is taking this journey, so that anyone who wants to ask questions or journal their journey or needs someone to share the wins and the losses can do so in a loving and safe environment. Any negativity or judgmental commenting will mean removal without warning, as it is a true zero tolerance policy. Okay, so the link to that is down below in the description, okay, to the group. It should be down below to the group. And it is called Wellness for Healthiness. Yeah, so I would also encourage anyone going on this journey to seek counseling. Having a completely unrelated person to talk some of your stuff out with is really important. They can help you go through some of the reasons why you think you've gotten to this point and give you tools to make sure you continue on your journey understanding more about yourself than you did before, so that you're better able to cope moving forward as you can leave the past where it belongs. Okay? And that's really important, guys. A lot of stuff like this, you really need to have a counselor on hand or be able to do that, even if you're just talking to your doctor. Okay, if you've got a doctor that you have a good rapport with, make a regular appointment to see them, because they're not going to have a problem with that. And if they can point you in the direction of a counselor that's going to help you, then that would be a really cool thing too. Rochelle needs a new family. They're skinny and it's annoying. I get it, honey. I totally get it. Okay, so number 3, write it all down. Whether you start a private journal or share your journey online with others, either in written blog form or video, the choice is yours. But having a record of your journey is really important, so you can look back and you see how far you've come in the time that it's taken you to do it. You know, or even looking down 6 months down the road, you can look back and go, wow, that's, you know, so that you have something that you can actually see for yourself. Because sometimes we can't see it in ourselves. Not really. I mean, we're seeing the effects and we're seeing what the real, you know, the fact that, you know, some of our medications may have been dropped, some of this may have happened, some of that may have happened. We may have somehow got into an old pair of jeans that's been sitting at the back of the wardrobe for the last 6 years. But, you know, they're great ways to tell, but sometimes you need to see it for yourself, and you can look back at that person and go, you know what? I'm not that person anymore. I'm this person, and I'm stronger and I'm healthier and I'm doing better than I was 6 months ago. And that's important. Okay. It will help you to record where you were on your bad days and what you did to get yourself out of them. You can write things in there that you may not even want to share with a counselor or your best friend or even your partner or close family. It's just between you and your journal. Some things we all keep to ourselves, and there is no shame in that. None at all. They are our thoughts, and in that moment, and others may not understand where we are or were in that moment. So you might have said something about your partner that is really quite negative, all right? But you've put it in your journal because that's where your head was at the time. Doesn't mean you're still there, just means in that moment, on that day, you needed to write it down. You may not tell your counselor, you may not tell mum, you may not tell anyone, but that's your private thoughts on that day, and you needed to work your way through it, so then you can write it down. The last thing you need is for that part of yourself to be misunderstood by others, as that's where more guilt gets piled on top of us and tends to be a time when we decide not to continue. It's like if someone finds your journal and decides to read it, you know, it's that kind of thing. Sharing your journal on social media takes a thick skin and a lot of courage. And there are literally thousands of anonymous blogs out there that people have used as their online journal for this purpose, so that those who have taken a wellness journey can have that outlet without the guilt. Some choose to show their journey as a way to keep themselves on track. Having the feeling of accountability can be really important to some people's journey, and they feel they need to share it publicly so that they stay on track for others as well. One thing I will say is everyone is different, and how you choose to record your journal is entirely up to you. I'm just sharing options. My choice is to share it with you guys. The reason being that I know many of my friends who want to take this journey need to not feel alone. And in all honesty, I need to not feel alone. I'm not going to lie. It is incredibly difficult when you are starting to look after yourself better and changing your lifestyle, and others around you aren't changing theirs. If my journey can help just one other person, then I feel it was worth it. Yes, I'm getting something out of it personally as well, but if I can help one other person with them following my journey, then that's got to be worth it. Worth sharing it publicly. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Words is hard, guys. Not to mention the fact that I will be a lot healthier and strong and far more able to stay out of a wheelchair for a lot more years, which is very important to me. Okay. I'm just saying. So that brings us to number 4. Number 4 is plan and research. It's great listening to others and following along, but sometimes the person whose advice you are listening to doesn't quite sit well with you for some reason. Some of the information might, but the rest is kind of, I don't know. It may be the way they speak, something in their voice, something they say, or even the information they're giving doesn't sit right with you, and you have red flags going up. Those alarm bells are going off, ding, 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 all over the place. It's always best to do your own research. You have a health issue you want to take care of that is reversible, or that you can help yourself in becoming more able to cope with it. And so you need to research it yourself, and not just the first 3 pages that come up on a browser search, okay? On every health journey we take, what works for us and use that the best way we can. Not everyone gives the same information, and you may have some ideas of your own. Utilize your local library, read everything you can get your hands on, partly so that if your doctor says something you would be unsure about, you can give an educated answer right back and understand what they're talking about. Knowledge is power, after all, and the more you know about what ails you, the more power you have to be more involved with your healing journey. Really important. Planning is the culmination of all that research and gives you a proper plan moving forward so that you can go ahead and organize yourself and be able to do what you know is going to be best financially, physically, and mentally for you and on your health journey. Everyone's different. Journey is going to be different. Everyone's. So what works for one may not work for you. Finding a way to make it work takes research and planning. Many get very overwhelmed after being given a diagnosis, and most medical specialists and consultants don't really take a lot of time to explain things fully in a language you will understand. They expect you to do the legwork, as they have another 10,000 patients under their care, and they don't have the time or the patience to learn everybody's language and hold their hand through the process. Showing your specialists and doctors you have given yourself the best education you can regarding your conditions tends to throw them off guard a little bit. And either they appreciate the work you've done and are more likely to work with you and become a cheerleader, but there are cases that they will fight harder for their point of view because you've just bruised their ego. Okay? Either way, you're still on top, having done the research, and will be fully armed, able to fight your corner. Planning comes in so many forms and with many considerations that are completely personal to you and your life as it is now. Financial considerations need to be made to tell you whether you can afford to make sweeping changes or if you need to take it a week at a time and build things up slowly. Can you afford long cook times? Or do you need to make food that takes less electric or gas to prepare? These are serious considerations in these days. Can you afford to be making 2 meals for each meal, one for you and one for the family? Or can you find a way to combine the two so that everyone gets what they need and want without causing extra harm on the purse strings? Health considerations need to be planned for so that if you are having a bad day and you don't need to worry about trying to feed yourself, as you will have made a contingency plan and either have made extra and frozen it, so you've got microwavable or oven reheatable meals that anyone in your household can make for you, or you know where to order food from locally so that it doesn't end up being a bad choice day, making the situation worse or adding guilt to your already fragile physical and or mental health. Time needs to be made a serious consideration as well. Can you afford the time to prepare meals every single day? Or do you need to do a major prep day, maybe once or twice a week? All of these things, and probably some I haven't listed here, really need to be taken into consideration when planning for your health journey. Okay, this brings us to number 5. So I'm going to just check chat very quickly. Oh, Annette's going to adopt Rochelle. That's awesome. It is very easy to be alone in the crowd. So Seeker says, I've been a listener at times, but anyone who wants to do that must know, don't try to fix things. Most peeps just want to talk to get their head straight at the time. Absolutely. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Not a problem. Right. I need this drink. Rochelle's found another sports bra. Yay! Awesome. Okay. So now this is your 5th thing that's going to help you be successful. Okay? Read every single label. Just because something says healthy option, fat-free, sugar-free, no sugar added, doesn't mean it is healthier by any means at all. It can mean it has excess sugar or other additives to make the product actually palatable and taste like it should do. Some of these additives could be doing you more harm than good and could also be stopping your medications from working properly. One of the best things to do is to stop this or limit it is to learn to read labels. I mean, sure, making everything from scratch is the best possible option, and that's what we're encouraging here. But while we're starting out and learning new cooking skills and shopping skills and dealing with medical diagnosis and life in general, honestly, you're better off adding this skill so that you can make good purchasing choices when the need arises. You're planning the weekly shopping and you only have an hour or so to get it all done, but you have time during the week to do some research online. Check out the ingredients of the products you are thinking of purchasing before you go into the supermarket. So you can grab exactly what you need or want before getting overwhelmed and anxious about time and looking like a loony picking everything up and reading it before you dare put it in the trolley or your basket, whatever. The products with the least ingredients and the ones you recognize are the products you want to look at purchasing. The second you see words you need a degree to understand, that's when the issues arise. Sure, not all additives are dangerous, but some of them can be. So the less we allow them in the food we purchase, then the less risk we have with picking up something that will not be so good for us. The more raw whole foods you can purchase, the better off you are. Frozen is okay though, as long as they're whole foods. The less pre-made processed foods you purchase, the better your journey will be. For example, one of the biggest fallacies in processed foods is that sweeteners are better for you than sugar. Most sweeteners available in soft drinks and other products are actually insulin blockers and can cause more issue for a diabetic than actually a spoon of sugar. Not that you should be having either if you are diabetic, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not saying that. But what I am saying is that many foods that have diet on the label are filled with additives that actually can do a lot more damage to us than the original product. If you aren't sure what something is, look it up. Read about it. Do your research. Find out for yourself and educate yourself about what is actually in the food you are eating so that you can make an educated decision when it comes to your health journey. So you follow those. If you follow those 5 tips, you are going to have such a much better chance of success on your health journey than if you don't. Okay, like I said, this is a long live, is a long video, and you know, I really appreciate you guys sticking by me and hanging out with me like this, because there's a lot of information. But you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. I don't mind. I don't care. You do what you like with it. It's all good. Seeker! Good grief. He told me about that this morning. Seriously. Oh, gosh. It is. Yes, Booby Traps is a popular bra making company in Australia. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think this has come off the conversation about the sports bra, and Seeker has gone, oh, look, Booby Traps, because he's reading a book on booby traps. It is actually genuinely a book. Yay! So Rochelle's black jeans fit perfectly just in time for summer. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome. So there's a couple of things that I would like you to have a look at. If you have time, you want to research, do some research and stuff like that from people who are doctors and specialists who have done the research, who are the research guys behind the research, okay? There are 3 films that you can watch free online, okay? The links of those will be going up in the group on Facebook. I will also be putting them down below in the description. They are called, number 1, they are called The Sugar Film. Now that's quite a scary watch, so I'm just warning you, okay? There's also the movie that's called Forks Over Knives, and honestly, I would really put some time aside to watch that. Also, there's another one called What the Health as well. That's available on YouTube. I'm aware of that. But like I said, I will put these below. And so that you've got the links in the description to the ones that I can find. Okay. So they're really, really important. Now, if you guys have got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them right now. We've still got about 20 minutes if you guys want to hang out that long. But yeah. Won't be able to wear them till fall, and hopefully they won't fit then. Rochelle, that's awesome. Fingers, arms, legs, and eyes crossed for you. Oh, Seeker, that's so sweet. That's very cool. So yeah, if anyone wants to discuss any of the points that I've brought up or anything like that, please do say so in chat. And we'll keep it going. If not, I'll run away. I will. The point in all of this, anyway, you're down about 20 pounds. Good for you, darling. For us mere mortals, that's just over a stone. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that's, like I said, I'm not going to be doing a big weigh-in every single week. There's no point in me doing that. I'm just going to frustrate myself if I do that, because my measuring is going to be how my health goes rather than where my weight's at. The weight is a side effect of what I'm doing, but I want my health to be my focus, if that makes sense. Does this mean that I'm not going to be doing other recipe videos on this channel? No, it does not. Does this mean that this is going to be what this channel is all about? No, it does not. Does this mean that I will be stopping doing all other content until this is done? No, it does not, because this series is 30 weeks long at the moment. It could go longer, depending on how popular it becomes. So there you go. I believe that the water from canned veg is better than water from the tap. I could be wrong. It usually has a lot more salt in it, to be honest, and not necessarily good salt. Because there's lots of different salt, but it tends to be quite salty and have a lot of added salt in it. So, yeah. I mean, you can use it. That's not a problem. I mean, there's certain vegetables that you can use. I mean, like things like chickpeas and other legumes, other than black beans. Don't use it from black beans. You can use the aquafaba, which is almost like egg white protein, the albumin of the egg. So you can use it like you would do egg white. It's really kind of cool. I discovered the other day that for my height of 5'2", I need to lose about 52 kilos to be at my ideal weight for height. That's cool. But your focus will be reversing your diabetes. That's your focus, not the weight. The weight will come. You start eating properly and you won't need to worry about that because it'll happen. And it's also about being active as well. But yeah, everyone's body mass is different too. Yeah, you can use it. I'm not saying you can't use the water in a can of peas or whatever and chuck it in your shepherd's pie. That's cool. That's not a problem. I'm just saying, watch it. Don't add any more salt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I imagine you're talking 140 pounds there and 120 pounds, because I'm pretty sure you're a lot younger than that. So, yeah, I wore the same size as my mum at 140 pounds when she was 120. Yeah, everybody's body's different. Just because you're built a certain way, the body mass index is okay. All right. It does help in some situations. But if the thing that isn't widely known is that there are several different ones for several different countries. Okay. So there's different ones for the Pacific Islands. There's different ones for places like China and Japan and Vietnam and places like that. So Asia. There's different ones for Europe. There's different ones for Africa. There's different ones for all sorts of different people in different parts of the world, because we all have different body types. Seeker, you are so rude. No. She's not quite a foot taller than me. I'm almost half a foot taller than her, but on a bad day, I'm only 5'3", so it's cool. I used to use the water from the boiled potatoes to make a thick gravy with the extra mince and onions, but can't get the large packets now. No, I get that. I totally get it. But yeah, so there you go, guys. That is the introduction to the Wellness for Healthiness series. The only other thing that I will be adding, I will be talking a little bit next week or on Friday about, I'll be getting a little bit more in depth on dairy. And we'll be making some plant-based milk. Yes. And I'm hoping to be able to make some homemade tofu to show you guys that it's very, very simple to do. Very simple to do. I'm also going to be talking to you about the exercise and movement side of things that I am doing myself personally. So I'll be talking about that then. You guys have had enough information from me for today, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it very, very much. Don't forget, I will be putting the links to the movies that I said, the documentaries, down below in the description. So keep an eye on that. That will be coming soon. Feel free to run this back whenever time you want. Also, I will be putting links to those documentaries up in the group. I believe there's a couple already in there, but I will double check. Okay, so yeah, the link to the group for Facebook is down below in the description. So please do go follow that if you have Facebook and you want to be a part of that group. Yeah, and I will see you guys on Friday. Actually, yeah, no, I will see you for the next Wellness for Healthiness live on Friday. I will see you guys then. Have an awesome, awesome rest of your day. I love you guys heaps. Mwah.